This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome into Bucks University. I am Nathan Marzian, joined as always by Stev, aka Bucks Breakdown. You can follow him on Twitter at Bucks Breakdown. You can follow the podcast at BucksU_pod and myself at Nathan Marzian. And we are now a couple weeks into the off season. Nothing, crazy has happened besides obviously do we call it a firing or a quitting? I know Doc came out today and it was like, 100% it was my decision.
Did you read it?
No, I didn't read the whole thing.
Okay, yeah, me neither. I'm not reading that either.
So, according to Doc Rivers, it was a quitting. I think, obviously, to most people, it was inevitable that, or at least hopefully inevitable, that he was going to get fired. But regardless, Doc Rivers gone. Nothing really else since then, besides there have been just recently some rumors that came out about Taylor Jenkins and the Bucks seemingly being... Seems like they're locked in on him as their top guy right now. They says they met with him in Memphis last week to discuss the head coach opening and a vision for the future with Jenkins in Milwaukee. So seems like that's their guy that they're heavily interested in, and the only guy that's been, rumored for them to have been meeting with so far. Now I know anyone who's employed currently with a team, they have to get permission to interview, right?
Yeah, I think last week the Bulls or Shams posted all the permission that was granted for the Bulls or denied for their president of basketball operations, I think it is, that they have open.
Yeah, that's part of why he's the only person they've talked to or reportedly talked to so far. But at the same time, I do think that it is legit that they do seem to be zeroed in on him, and it seems to be someone that they definitely are trying to get things progressing with quickly rather than later. And I think there's a few different things you could take away from that. One of them being they want to get this done quick, it seems. Number two being if they want to get it done quick and if they want to go with Taylor Jenkins, that to me would mean more likely that Giannis is going to stay in Milwaukee rather than him leaving. Now, I'm not saying that it automatically means Giannis is 100% staying, but to me, it's an indicator more so towards Giannis staying rather than Giannis leaving. Because, I don't know, to me, if Giannis was leaving, they wouldn't, I think they'd be taking their time a little bit more with this. I don't think they would be trying to get this done as soon as possible. Bringing in someone also that Giannis has experience with and has been with the organization before. I don't know. To me, this says more Giannis staying. But regardless of that, I do think we both have, we talked about this in a past podcast when the original rumors came out about the Bucks having interest in him if they did get rid of Doc. I think we're both on the same page in that he'd be good. We'd like him. Is it the greatest hire ever? No, but it'd be a good hire, and it's I think a high floor hire. I think it's pretty safe. Famous last words, but I have a hard time seeing it blow up in their face if they hired him. I do trust him. I think he's competent. I think he's a good coach. So definitely don't have any complaints about it. I do still think that they should do more of a broad search, and I still would be doing all your due diligence around the league and really having a ton of interviews, a bunch of different candidates, and just evaluating all of your options, because I think they need to do that. I think they need to have as many options as possible and just see everything they've got and really try to nail this. But at the same time, I do understand if they really like Jenkins, I don't have a problem with it necessarily.
Yeah, so I think the first thing I'll touch on is the kind of the speed of this. I mentioned 2 podcasts ago, so not even, I think it was before Doc even got let go, maybe. But I was wondering how fast this would kind of take place because of, everything that's kind of going on. Not only the Giannis stuff, but, they got a top 10 pick coming up and whatever, with or without Giannis, I think there should be a good amount of roster turnover, maybe. Or, but, they got some options as far as, what they can do with this roster. So it felt like, okay, if Horst is going to be here, they probably are going to get the ball rolling pretty fast. So I think, Jenkins being, like we said, kind of being the guy zeroed in on makes sense from a standpoint of I think they want to get things rolling. Whichever way they decide on, going, like you said, I feel like, this probably indicates one way. Whatever side or whatever direction they do end up going, they wanted to get that moving and they want to be prepared for whatever is to come.
So let's say tomorrow comes out, Bucks are hiring Taylor Jenkins. What would you grade it?
Oh, um,
Factoring in that they're not interviewing other people and they're just going right with him. Like factor that in. What would you
yeah, that's the tough part, right? Like but I think that's another thing too. Like the Bucks are not giving Shams any information, right? So I don't think we'll hear a ton from him on who is even being requested anyways. So it's going to be tough to, like, I think a lot of that will come out after the fact and we'll hear more about, who those candidates were after they make a hire. So it's going to be really tough to judge pre that. But I think with, what we've been given so far, it does seem like Jenkins is their guy and that's the guy they're focusing on regardless of what interviews are happening or not happening. So if I had to give it a grade, I think I'd give it a B. Like you said, like neither of us dislike the hire, and it's tough to even if they hire like my guy Royal Ivy, right? Like I don't know how to grade that either because we don't know too much about what he looks like as a head coach. But I think at the very least we have something to go off of with Jenkins. I do think he's a solid head coach. I do think he's going to be, if he is the coach, I think he's going to do a lot of good things. I hate to for the bar to be Doc. And it's tough to kind of remove that, but I think he's gonna, he has his coaching philosophies, and I think a lot of those are good. I like a lot of the things that he could implement going off priors, right? But I don't know. I guess we'll see how that all plays out. But I think I would give it a B still. Where would you be at with it?
Yeah, I'd be right there too. B, maybe even B plus. And it's it's hard to complain about it. I think the lowest you could possibly be is like a B minus. I don't really see how you could dislike it more than that. And again, I'm only giving it in the B's because it's like, sure, I'm fine with the end result. I'm fine with hiring him. I have no problems with that. But it's just like, I do want to know. It would give me comfort to know. And like you said, it might not come out till later, but it would give me comfort to know that they are really evaluating everything and not just kind of immediately like, we like this guy and we're just going to do this and just kind of rush it, get it done, whatever. And it's like, I want make sure that we're getting this right before we just go ahead and do it. But I do like Jenkins and I do not have a problem if that's the route they go. That's a perfectly fine hire for me. If you told me that 2 months ago that, Doc's going to be gone and Taylor Jenkins is going to be in, I would be happy. So I can't be mad when that happens later. So yeah, I mean, it so far it's like, not the perfect process to me, but again, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, so I guess I can't talk too much on it. But I don't know if someone in our chat was saying this, but somewhere I was seeing it and I agreed with it. I was like, it said that Jenkins seems like he's a good mix of, he's experienced but not an older coach. He's
still really young, or relatively speaking, for
he's still young, but he's got the experience of being a head coach before. So you're not hiring a brand new first time head coach.
Yeah, he's only 41.
But you're also not hiring a guy that's 60 years old and again, still stuck in the old era of basketball. So I think it's a good combination of that where you get a little bit of both, because that's the thing is it was always, well, what type of coach do you hire? Do you hire just one of the recycled coaches that's been coaching for a long time and that you don't necessarily trust? Isn't, and I know like those guys are all higher floor, lower ceiling. Jenkins is a little bit like that, but I see a little bit more of a ceiling with him because he does have some, in my opinion, there was some stuff untapped there when in his stint with the Grizzlies that wasn't necessarily his fault that I think he got fired for and stuff. So I think there's reason to believe that he could still be a really good coach. So compared to other guys that, again, recycled coaches that you kind of just like, we know exactly what we're getting and it's probably not going to be anything special. Then you could go for the mystery box of a first-time head coach, which is exciting, but it again, we've seen it ourselves, could not be very good. So yeah, I think it's a good mix. And overall, again, I won't have many complaints if they do end up with Taylor Jenkins in Milwaukee. All right. Anything else to add on coaching search or anything else before we jump right into Bucks season awards?
No, I think, that's about it on Jenkins. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see like what comes out about this search, because I know obviously the Bucks and Sham/ESPN aren't on the greatest of terms, so I don't think we'll get a ton of information on like the entirety of the search until after the fact, like we did with the Griffin one too. I think a lot of stuff came out after the fact with that one as well. So I think that'll be, more revealing and help us understand the process.
And I'm just trying to look at how long it's been exactly. So as of today,
A week on the dot?
As of today, it's been 9 days since the season ended.
Since the season ended. Okay.
Yeah. So since the season ended, it's been 9 days. And again, basically right when the season ended is when it was announced that, okay, Doc's not coming back. So 9 days since Doc was confirmed not coming back, that they are now all of a sudden, okay, looking like Jenkins is the leading candidate. I'm looking at when they fired Bud after that season in 2023, after the first round exit. They fired him on May 4th, and then they hired someone on May 27th. So that was a little over 3 weeks.
Wow, dude, that's pretty fast. Like, I think right now, if they were to hire Jenkins tomorrow, that would be insanely fast. And I think you could jump to conclusions on how that search, or how in depth that search was.
Yeah, I feel like and again, I could be wrong. There's only so many interviews and stuff, and so much you can do in 9 days. It's like that's just not enough, not a ton of time to interview a ton of guys. Really, do second level of interviews and really kind of get to know everything and ask the guys that again, if you think Giannis is staying around, asking Giannis what he thinks of things. And I guess there's debates about whether they should do that or not, and Bucks, whatever, Bucks fandom. But anyways, there's a lot that should, in my opinion, go on in that process.
I expected it to take about a month. I think
that was kind of what I was thinking too. Is I was like, if I had to bet, I would have bet that they don't have a coach by the draft lottery, which is May 9th or whatever.
Okay, so that's around the time that I was thinking they probably hire somebody. So like I was thinking, I don't think they have a head coach going into May, but I would assume they hire one very soon thereafter, because like you said, all that stuff starts. I think that's right around the time when a lot of the pre-draft workout stuff is getting rolling, and you would assume you want the head coach to be a part of that process.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Just in some way, so.
Yep. All right, let's kick it off. Bucks 2025-26 season awards. I just came up with kind of some random categories here, nothing crazy. So I have candidates for each one, and then we'll just pick a winner for each of these. Starting with MVP. I only have one candidate for this. It's Ryan Rollins, man. It's got to be.
Not Gary Trent Jr.?
I don't know who else it could be, but it's gotta be Ryan Rollins. Obviously, we've talked about him extensively. People know he had a great year. What was it? It was like 17,
5-4.
Yeah, 17.4 points, 5.6 assists, 4 point something rebounds, 47% from the field, 41% from three. The pull-up stuff was incredibly improved from last year, and the off the dribble scoring and all that. And he just, again, for him to show what he showed in such a dismal season, for him to kind of be that bright spot and like go from, we liked him, but in general, he was kind of a fringe roster guy coming into the season, or at least in the off season, to go from that to this is one of our 4 best players, going 3 to 4 best players for sure. On a, this guy can be one of those on a good team. So yeah, that was awesome to see, and I think really no doubts about it. He's the MVP.
Yeah, for sure. No one even come close.
Who would be your second pick in this?
Jesus, man.
I guess I'll get. Well, okay. There's another one that we can kind of get into that. I'll just go right to basically this is LVP, or most disappointing player, least valuable player. So the most disappointing player? I have 3 guys for this. Gary Trent.
Candidates.
These are all candidates. Gary Trent.
Okay.
Cole Anthony, and Miles Turner.
I think Miles Turner wins this in a landslide. He's the unanimous LVP.
I went Gary Trent.
I think that's fair. For me, I would have to factor in how much money Miles is making.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe that's I don't know the criteria of the award, but that's where I would go with it.
Make your own criteria, whatever criteria.
Hey, there we go. It's like Bill Simmons.
Yeah, just do whatever you want. So if you're talking from a contract standpoint, 100% it was Miles Turner. But just for me, I still can at least, and maybe I'm wrong for this, but I still can put some of his issues on Doc and Giannis not being there and all that, and say I'll give him a little bit of a pass. Gary Trent, I can't believe how bad he was compared to like what I was expecting coming into the year, thinking he's going to be one of our 3 or 4 best players, and the playoffs last year were so good, and it just felt like this is a dude and someone that we were all willing to just, like, we wanted him on the team no matter what. We would give him whatever money he wants. He's got to be here. He's a huge part of this team, and it just, for it to fall off a cliff like it did, obviously so disappointing. So he's my pick. Just from I know Turner didn't live up to my expectations either, but I think Trent was even further away from my expectations than Turner was, because we were both so high on him coming into the year that it was just like, I can't believe he's literally just basically lost his spot in the rotation. So,
are there any honorable mentions for this award?
I mean, the other candidate, Cole Anthony, who I believed in more than you, but I fell for it again I fell for it again.
Backup PG.
Yeah, I fell for it again. Anyone else? Some people, and I think when I put this out there, some people were commenting AJ Green, and I'm like, look, if you want to argue he was slightly disappointing, if you had high expectations for him, fine. Like I had very high expectations. I'd say he was close to those, but if you want to say he's a little disappointing because he did have some stretches that it was just pretty ugly and wasn't doing much, fine. But there's no way he was anywhere as close to disappointing as Gary Trent, Miles Turner.
Yeah, it wasn't
Anthony.
even close.
It's like those guys, Gary Trent and Cole Anthony, literally were basically unplayable, and Miles Turner, compared to, again, what he was expected to be, and it's not close. It's not debatable. Like AJ Green still ended up having a fine season. He ended up being, obviously sets the record for threes made in a season. I know that isn't the end all be all, but for a 3-point shooter, hey, I think that's a pretty good season. Shoots 40-some% from 3 on high volume. I know it wasn't great. You could argue it was a little disappointing, but there's no way he should be on the list, in my opinion. It's like,
yeah, he's not even. No, he doesn't even get an honorable mention there.
So go from most disappointing player to most surprising player, which I guess kind of goes back to, next guys after Rollins in terms of like who was the pleasantly surprising or like the positive guys from the year. Rollins not mentioned because he wasn't that surprising to us, and I think even a lot of others knew like he's a good player. But most surprising, the 3 guys I have on here: Jericho Sims, maybe not surprising from the start of the season, but at least from the middle, and for me, definitely surprising. Cormac Ryan, who came on at the end of the year, and then Pete Nance. Those are the 3 guys I have as most surprising, or candidates for most surprising.
I gotta go with my boy Jumpman. He played like real deal minutes, and he was like actually improving throughout the year. Even someone like me, who I thought he could be like a rotational big. I didn't know how often he would get real run, but with Giannis's injury, he was kind of like thrown in there. And like there was, I think at the end of the season and for a good stretch, like Doc preferred him over Miles, which is pretty crazy. But like he played that well. I think he provided that spark that the team needed, and I don't know, it's tough because obviously he's handicapped like offensively, right? And the spacing isn't great, and all that stuff. But like he provided so much that it was like, okay, we just have to play this guy a ton because he helps us in so many of the areas that we need help in.
3 months ago, I would have said Pete Nance, but yeah, I'm gonna switch mine to Jericho Sims because, I mean, I've mentioned it so many times. I was giving up on him and just I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I'm not, like, the experiment's over. And then yeah, he just became a legitimately really solid rotational center, which just didn't seem like it was going to happen. And again, from this, if you told me at the start of the season that would happen, I wouldn't have been that surprised because I did feel pretty fine. Like I was fine with him coming into the season. Like I do think he can be a decent backup center. But then, yeah, I mean, it just got to a point where it was like, no, it's not happening. And for him to turn it around, he gets this award. I mean, I think Nance definitely would be, he's definitely up there. He was really solid in his minutes and someone that wasn't really on anyone's radar coming into the year too much. So definitely worthy of a mention because I did like what I saw, and he gets a multi-year standard NBA contract as a result. So props to him. Cormac Ryan, great at the end of the year. I won't put that as highly just because it was summer league games, essentially. All right, next up, we have the best shooter on the team. So I think there's a few different guys that, like, this actually was close to me. That's why I made it an award, because I was like, I think this could go a few different ways. There's arguments to be made for a few different guys. So I have AJ Green, who set the record for most threes and 41.9% on 7 attempts per game. I have Ryan Rollins, who was 40.6% on 6 attempts per game, but taking more off the dribble shots and a little bit tougher shots than AJ Green was. Bobby Portis, 45.6%, 4.4 attempts per game, was one of the highest percentage three-point shooters in the league, but you could debate I guess he took some tough ones, but he was just flat out really good shooting the ball this year. I'm not gonna argue that. If you even want to throw, I didn't add these guys in as candidates, but you could even throw Prince. You could throw Cormac Ryan in there. I mean, Prince was hurt most of the year, but 44% after he came back. Cormac Ryan shot 46% in that final stretch. So those both were lights out shooters at the end of the year on about 5-something attempts per game. So a lot of different ways. I think that guys that at least have a case to be made for this. Who are you going with best shooter?
So I just quickly looked it up. Do you know Bobby's career high for 3-point percentage?
He had 1 year, I know. Was it his first year in Milwaukee?
Yes, it was.
And he was like 47.8?
47.1.
47.1, yeah.
But on 2.4 attempts per game.
Yeah.
Which is basically a career low. Yeah, career low outside of his first 2 seasons in the league. I just wanted to make sure that he got up enough attempts in this year. 4.4, it's not, like a ton, like relatively speaking. But I think that's enough for me to give him the nod, unfortunately.
No, it's fair. It's fair. It's not as much volume and difficulty as some of the other guys, but
yeah,
for it to be 46%, it was like he was fantastic.
There was a stretch there where he was just throwing him in from anywhere at any time. So yeah, I'll throw him a bone here. I'll get in this one.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I refuse to throw him a bone, and I will be giving this to. Look, I'm gonna say Rollins. And I know I'm biased and I love Ryan Rollins, but I really do think when you combine the consistency with the volume, with the quality of looks that he was getting, and by quality, I mean not great quality sometimes because he was taking a lot off the dribble, a lot of step backs, contested, hand in the face, very consistent overall. I mean, you're never going to be perfectly consistent as a shooter, but I just thought it was a very, very impressive shooting season from our guy, Ryan. I think he was 40% off the dribble, and so then I think he was 42 or 43% off the catch. I don't know, but just I'll give it to Ryan because
to be clear, I'm trying to use the least amount of context possible to give this award to Bobby, just so I can say that
That's fine.
I gave him something.
That's very.
But yeah, if you include all that off the dribble difficulty and him having to create a ton of those looks for himself. I talked about this a little bit the other day, but like the versatility in his like shot diet is crazy, and for him to hold the efficiency where it was at is nuts.
Next up, most surprising stat of the season. All right. These I kind of just randomly found. So there could be more surprising stats. These were just kind of ones that I got off the basic searching and just basic knowledge of this stuff. First up, Cam Thomas and Ousmane Dieng each having a 30-point game. Try to imagine what would be the most surprising if I told you this in October. This is going to happen. So Cam Thomas and Ousmane Dieng each having 30 burgers. Ryan
Same
Rollins,
game?
No, just in general.
Okay.
And like the fact that, just the fact that if I told you that in October, you'd be like, what? Like those guys?
Yeah, those guys are even on the roster. Yeah.
How'd they score 30? Ryan Rollins making 84 pull-up threes after going 5 of 18 all of last year. This one is not, I guess, what you would think in October, but just looking back on it, is this surprise? How surprising is this to you? Taurean Prince ending up with more shot attempts in the season than Jericho Sims.
That's true?
Yes, even though he missed 60-something games. And then
nuts.
Kyle Kuzma only shooting 1.3% worse from 3 than Gary Trent.
Oh man.
Kuzma ended up 34.7, Gary Trent 36.
Jericho Sims triple dub doesn't even crack the nominees.
I will bring that up.
Okay, so we got a box score award. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Oh man, that one's tough. I think the Ooze and Cam Thomas thing, like again, if you were to tell me that in October, I would have hung it up then.
Yeah. That probably takes it for me. The Taurean one I just thought was funny. I'm like,
that's insane.
Sims just doesn't shoot that many shots. So Taurean Prince shot 191 shots, Jericho Sims 185.
Despicable.
Cam Thomas 153. He almost beat Jericho in only 18 games.
Oh, bro.
Man, the Cam Thomas experience, man, it was special.
Almost like we knew what was gonna happen there. But what do we know?
No, we're crazy, man. You see those buckets he put up in that one game?
Yeah, we're watching the spreadsheets.
Yeah. Next up, best moment of the year. Tough to find nominees for this, but best moment of the year. And these aren't great nominees for the most part. Some of them are just like, okay, in most seasons that would be like a top 10 moment of the year, but for us,
right,
one of the best. Number one candidate, and I think the leader in the clubhouse, Doc Rivers getting fired. We're counting that. We're counting the 20 minutes after the season. So Doc Rivers getting fired, number one. Next up, Ryan Rollins' 32-point game against Golden State when the Bucks were 4-1 and things were looking good and everyone was happy. The Giannis buzzer beater against the Pacers early on in the season.
Oh man, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I kind of did too. I was like, oh yeah, that was this season. And then two more. One of them, the Giannis dunk at the end of the game versus the Bulls when he came back from injury, had that dunk. The game was over and he just threw it down, and it was kind of like an FU moment. And I think got a lot of people fired up, just like Bucks fans were like, all right, let's go. Obviously didn't lead to much, but still it was kind of fun in the moment. And then I had to include it, the Cam Thomas heater game against Orlando, February 11th. I was not happy during that game, but other people, most of the fan base was going wild.
It was cool. I'll say it was cool.
It was very cool, but we were
in the grand scheme, no.
We were both like kind of quiet, texting each other like this kind of sucks.
We knew where it was headed though. We knew exactly where it was headed.
Yes.
I gotta go with unfortunately for Doc, I can't throw him a bone here. I gotta go with the Ryan 30 ball against the Warriors. I thought we were gonna hang another banner. Is that the best win of the season?
I didn't have a thing for this, but that easily could have been one. I have a lot of the worst losses of the season coming up, but yeah, best win of the season. That probably is, and I think that's part of why I put it on here is because that was the feeling after that game was by far the most positive of any game for this season I think.
Yeah, I think like if you were to poll Bucks fans, that the OKC game would really rival that. Like from a fan base perspective,
That's fair. I forgot about For me, that Golden State one would be number one, but yeah, I mean, because they started 4-1. Next thing you know, they're 8-12, and kind of from then on, I mean, it just kind of spiraled, and they were 12-19 and stuff, and I think people quickly kind of started realizing this team's not very good and losing some interest. So even by the time that OKC game came around, and they did have that little stretch and won that game, and yes, there was positivity, but it's like, okay, you're still 23-30 and multiple games out from the 10 seed. So still comparing that to when they were 4-1 and Rollins was, not that he didn't keep it up, but Rollins was playing fantastic, and it was like, oh my God, we just recreated Dame with Ryan Rollins, and the overall positivity to me still was definitely peaked that
right
day.
there. Yeah, I'm just like quickly going through some of the schedule and wins. So there was the January 9th game. They beat the Lakers in Staples, if I'm not mistaken. I thought that one was a solid, like really decent win.
That one I remember I was annoyed at because they ran KPJ iso ball the last 5 possessions of the game, and I was like,
and they almost blew it. Yeah, that's a good point there. Oh man, there was one early in the season where I got absolutely killed by people on Twitter because it was a close win, I think, versus the Hornets. The overtime one, maybe.
That one was bad. Yeah.
That one was like, this might not be heading the right way, even though they pulled that one out. But yeah, not too many fantastic wins in here. I think they beat Boston once, but I don't remember who was playing for Boston at the time.
Yeah, they beat Boston. That game is actually going to be in my one of my later awards. But yeah, they beat Boston December.
Who's 30 ball?
Yeah, it was Kuzma, Bobby, and Kevin Porter Jr., all of my favorite players, played super well in that game. And but even then, it's like they were 11-15. It wasn't like cool, good win, but it wasn't like, oh, this team's awesome. It was just kind of like, okay, good win. Whereas again, you go back to that 4-1 start and Rollins doing what he was doing. It was like
19 minutes for Cole Anthony in that one.
Honestly, one of the other ones would be that Cole Anthony game.
In Toronto
against Toronto, like that was another one where people were like, "Wow, this team could be really good." Like this Cole Anthony is unbelievable. So, yeah.
Oh man, what a season!
All right, so now we get to the worst moment of the year, and I made this moment not just like one loss, but kind of merging some things together. So, the candidates, 27-0 run allowed to the Bulls on March 1st. In that game, they lost to the Bulls, and the Bulls hadn't won in over a month. That was when the Doc Google Me thing happened as well. So I think that was a low point. The 45-point loss to the Nets, December 14th. Right after that Boston game we were just talking about, where everything seemed up, and then they immediately lose to the Nets by 45 the next game. The Wizards lost on New Year's Eve. McCollum hits the buzzer beater. January, they had back-to-back games trailing by 40+. Again, now, they were against the Wolves and Spurs, good teams, but still, they got absolutely blown out with Giannis, I believe, in both those games, back-to-back games. The 4-game span, late February, early March, they had a minus 97-point differential, worst in franchise history, lost by 29, 23, 27, and 18, 4 consecutive games, and that was basically the end of the season where it was like, okay, that little fun streak we had is done and was pretty fake, and this team sucks and the season's over. So which one of those would be your winner? And I think that even that Bulls game was part of that stretch. So I guess if you want to just throw it all into that 4-game stretch, you can do that.
That one's tough because they just kept getting worse and worse and worse as you were going through the list. They were all pretty bad. I don't know. I guess like when those games happen probably factors into that, but that Bulls one really hurts because, like we said, like that was like do or die. Like you start winning now, or you're done, and to have that happen was like gut punch.
Yeah, I'll just go to that 4-game stretch. The Bulls loss was the rock bottom point, but I'll kind of just merge it all into that 4-game stretch where, again, it was February 27th to March 4th. They had gotten to 26-31, and it was like, okay, we get Giannis back, we can make a push at this, and to just get absolutely torched 4 games in a row was the kiss of death on the season. So, yeah, that's probably worse. I don't know if it would be like the ones I was the most mad at, because at that point I was like, whatever, this team kind of sucks already. Even though they had that stretch, it was kind of like, I'm not super bought in to actually anything that's going to happen this season. So maybe factoring that in, I might go something earlier in the season, like the Wizards loss on New Year's Eve, when I still thought there's enough time for them to really turn it around and be like a good team and stuff. And there were just those losses that you were like, okay, I'm actually realizing this team sucks.
Yeah, man, that list you just rattled off is absolutely insane. You could have put like any one of the Wizards losses in there. The Nets one was like insane.
They lost to him. They lose to him 4 times or 3.
I like remember 3. Could be 4 though.
Yeah, it's 3. Okay.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Yeah, because they did win the opener.
Yep. But still, to lose 3 times to a team that won 17 games, it's crazy. So, okay. Next up, performance of the year. So individual performance. I have Rollins 32-8 against the Warriors on October 30th. That kind of coming out party game. Rollins 32-14 assists against the Sixers on November 20th. They lost in overtime. Cam Thomas, 34-point game against the Magic on February 11th. The peak of Cam Thomas excitement in Milwaukee. And then Ousmane Dieng, 36-7-10 against the Rockets on April 1st. AJ Green hitting 11 threes against the Nets on April 10th, late in the season. And then Jericho Sims triple-double April 8th against Detroit in a game they lost by 26. So, yeah, so it's 3 of those were just, again, glorified summer league games, whatever, but still, really good stat lines. So I guess which would be your individual performance of the year?
It's weird because that one for Rollins against the Sixers, what were the numbers for that one?
32 points, 14 assists. He had, I'll pull up his shooting, 13 of 26 from the field.
Thought he hit some big shots down the stretch too.
Oh yeah, he was just going like every time the Philly would hit a shot, he would match him, and it was like, man, he deserves this win.
But I don't feel like that's his best game of the season, which is crazy because the numbers there, that's nuts. But I really like always go back to that Warriors game. I think the Sims triple-dub has got to get some love somewhere though, so I'll give it to him.
And I guess we also could throw in, Rollins' best scoring game was the game against the Blazers, but they lost by 31. A lot of this happened in the second half, but he had 36, hit 6 threes.
Is that what it was? 36? That's what he ended with?
Yeah, he scored like, I want to say he scored like 24 in the second half or something. I don't know. I think he had in the second half.
Really big third quarter, whatever it was.
Yeah. So you're going Sims?
I'm going Sims triple-dub, man. I got to give, I've been waiting to give him an award. You want Cam Thomas heater?
Yeah, I can't believe I'm giving him this award, and I can't believe, but man, it was as much as I don't like Cam Thomas, it was a spiritual experience, and I will admit that.
The dagger was like the one that did. If he didn't hit the dagger, I don't know if it hits the same.
And for it to be in, it was technically his second game, but it was basically his first game getting real minutes. For him to do that in his first game getting real minutes was like, what the hell? Like, holy shit. If he had done that a few weeks into having him, you would have already gotten enough of the Cam Thomas experience to be like, whatever, I don't care that he had this. But he did it right away, and that's what made it more like the juice and the excitement and the buzz was 100x, because everyone was like, the Bucks just got this guy, and he's already torching teams, and Giannis is doing he had that gif on the sideline. Yeah. And so the hype was crazy. So I'll give it to Cam. Even though he doesn't deserve an award, I'll give him that. And then last, I have like the overall box score of the year. It's going to be hard to, I'll try to describe these the best I can, but overall box score of the year that I just thought these were hilarious box scores. So we'll start with April 1st against Houston. The Bucks lost by 6. It was late in the year, but they hung in there. They played pretty well. Uzman had 36 points, 10 assists, 7 rebounds, 15 of 31 from the field. Cormac Ryan had 25. Jericho Sims had 20 rebounds. Pete Nance had 23 points. AJ Green had 15, hit 5 threes. Alexander Antetokounmpo played 4 minutes, didn't take a shot, didn't have any points, any rebounds, any assists, any steals, any blocks. And Andre Jackson went 2 for 3 from 3. I guess that's something else. So that one is 1. Oh, also Gary Trent, 7 minutes, no points, but he got hurt. So that was just a wild box score. The Boston game we mentioned earlier in December, Kuzma had 31. Kevin Porter Jr. had a triple-double. Bobby Portis had 27 on 11 of 13 shooting. The Cam Thomas game against Orlando, obviously Cam with 34. KPJ had a triple-double in that game as well. Miles Turner, 5 points in 31 minutes.
Oh, man.
Kyle Kuzma, 5 of 15, 1 of 7 from 3. Anything else?
It has to be the Rockets game, though.
Yeah, Bobby only had 4 points in that game. Uzman had 17 in that game. And then this other one was kind of crazy to me or funny to me. At San Antonio on January 15th. Yeah, it was at San Antonio. The craziest part of this one, Kyle Kuzma took 13 threes.
Oh, man.
5 of 13 from 3, 6 of 17 from the field. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 guys play in the game, and only 3 of them scored in double figures, which is nuts. Kyle had 18, Portis had 13, Giannis had 21.
This is the game. The game was over by like halftime, right?
Yeah, Kevin Porter Jr. went 0 for 9 from the field, no points. Ryan Rollins also went 2 of 8 from the field, so they combined 2 of 17. Well, Kuzma took 13 threes. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I think the winner has to be the Houston one.
Because that was like the funny thing about that was Houston was actually playing for some reason. I think they were playing for seeding, but like
yeah, they had the guys. Yeah. All right, that does it for our season awards.
My bad. Real quick, I put out just like if anybody had any questions about like the coaching search, and we got like a few questions, most of them the same. So I'm just gonna run through those with you real quick.
Yep.
Okay, so this one I thought was a pretty good one. Does your opinion on Jenkins change based on whether we have Giannis next year or not?
By the way, Giannis just posted on Instagram. Not okay. Sorry, I should have let off with it's not that big of a deal. But Giannis just posted on his Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
Dear District should be packed right now.
Oh yeah. From the trade though. Oh no, that's the restaurant up there, right?
Yeah, that's the whatever it's called.
Italian spot.
Servo,
yeah.
El Servo.
I can't pronounce that place. It's good though. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
All
right, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Does your opinion change based on whether we have Giannis next year or not? On Jenkins, opinion on Jenkins.
Not necessarily. I think he's fine in either scenario. Or good in either scenario, I should say. I mean, again, my opinion on Giannis changes more, or on the Giannis situation changes more based on what they're doing right now with this hire, more than my opinion on the hire changes with what they're doing with Giannis, if it's Jenkins. I think either way, I'd be pretty happy with the Jenkins hire, though. I don't know a ton about how he is with developing young guys and a rebuild and stuff, but I feel like he did a pretty good job of it in Memphis and did have to deal with some younger guys, some egos and stuff on that team. So I feel like he's pretty well equipped to handle that. And I also do trust him with, a win now team as well, because he again has some playoff experience and stuff like that. He kind of got all of it in Memphis. So I think I'm fine with it either way.
So for me, I think, yeah, it's not so much my opinion changing on Jenkins. Like you said, I think he would be good in, either scenario, Giannis here or not. I think my opinion just changes on the search itself.
Yeah.
But I guess we probably don't know that until after they hire a head coach anyway. So that's where it gets tough. Like if Giannis leaves after we hire Jenkins, and you're like, damn, wish we would have waited out, conduct a bigger search, whatever. But so opinion doesn't really change on Jenkins, whether or not Giannis is here. I think Jenkins is probably, I wouldn't say better fit for non-Giannis Bucks, but I think he has, because then who would be the best fit? I don't know. So opinion doesn't really change on Jenkins. Are you surprised Tom Thibodeau hasn't come up as a candidate? No, because he's he's basically a Doc disciple, right?
Yeah.
So no, I don't think they're doing the old head coach thing.
He wasn't ever really on my radar. So
no, that is a good call though, because he is one of the few former head coaches that is available. I doubt he's hired this cycle though, if ever again.
Yeah.
What are your top 3 coaching philosophies, point of emphasis you'd like the next coach to install if Giannis stays? I know it's hard to say while we don't know next year's roster, but I'm curious. I would just say a few that I've seen so far from watching a bit of Memphis, and this is older Memphis I kind of went into first. I think, again, it's hard to not tie this back to Jenkins, but just what he does on defense and seeing how active they are off ball, and how they're protecting their rim, how they're Xing out to guys, how they're rotating. Even then too, it looked like Jenkins was, I don't want to say pioneering, but the ball pressure stuff stuck out, and how much they were pressuring the ball, how high they were pressuring the ball, and to see last year how that played into how good Indiana was. That was pretty cool to see. I think the offensive rebounding stuff, defensive rebounding stuff, I hate to say that it's something I want implemented. I just think the Bucks were kind of stuck in their ways with that for whatever reason, whether that was they thought they had to do that because of the roster that they had, or whatever the reason was. But I think, things like that would stick out to me.
Yeah. I've mentioned an emphasis on analytics, and definitely being able to find some way with whatever roster you have to win the volume battle more than obviously they have been, because that's what they got killed with all season. Is sure, they're efficient, sure they can make shots because they have good shooters on their team, but they can't get up more shots than the opponent because there's basically nothing they do on the margins that actually generates them more looks. They're always getting beat on the margins, and the other team's getting more looks. So they've got to find some way, and that could be, depending on your roster, that could be, you could do it with free throws, you could do it with rebounding, you could do it with, forcing turnovers, whatever, but there's got to be something that they can lean on. They need some type of identity there, that something that they can rely on to consistently at least stay even in the volume battle, if not win it, but to consistently get destroyed in it was, to me, the biggest issue with Doc was it's I don't know how they never were able to even come close to fixing that and find some way. They tried a little bit at the end with the rebounding stuff, but finding some way to not get killed in all those areas. Throw transition in there too, where they just weren't able to consistently get out in transition. Not having Giannis didn't help, but it's they somehow were bad at almost everything outside of shooting. So
the only way to go is up. Along those same lines, what schematic installs are you looking for with a new head coach? Basically, kind of just reiterating all that stuff. It's hard to do X's and O's stuff because we don't know the roster. But again, kind of just tying this back to Jenkins, watching some of their older stuff, man, they played out of the high post a ton with Steven Adams, who was obviously not the ideal guy to be an offensive hub, and they didn't do it a ton, but it was an option for them in their offense. And seeing what they did off ball was really cool, and how they freed up Bane, and how they got Morant getting a lot of cuts, and him not having to create his way downhill. That stuff was cool to see. And just to, again, I just think, whatever the next head coach brings in, regardless of whoever it is, I think it's going to be a breath of fresh air as far as all that stuff we mentioned, because the Bucks just got dominated in not being able to get anything easy outside of Giannis just being, one of the best players in the world. So being able to create really good and easy looks for your guys on a consistent basis in whichever way that may be is obviously something that is going to be a breath of fresh air for sure.
I think there's some off-ball stuff on both ends where, on offense, I mean, it sounds so obvious, but they just don't do it sometimes. I want to see more off-ball movement and able to generate looks for some of these shooters off ball rather than just super basic actions all the time. And then defensively, it seems like even going back to the Bud era, and some of this is by design, and I get it. I mean, there's going to be times you have to, but not overhelping as much. It's just been such an issue for such a long time that it feels like they have some good individual defenders on their team that they don't trust. Anytime someone drives, it's like, okay, you've got this not great offensive player driving against, Giannis, or driving into Brook Lopez, who was obviously a great rim protector at the time. It's like, you don't need to bring another guy over. You're fine. Like, trust that your good defenders can play good defense. Even when they had Drew, they would do this. And it's like, there's, again, going to be times where you have mismatches and you need to help. But to me, overhelping has been such an issue that it's like, I want to see them cut back on that. And obviously, as a result, hopefully it limits the amount of open threes that other teams are getting. I know protecting the paint's a big deal, but it feels like they have, as long as Giannis and Turner are healthy, like they have the guys to be able to do that without sending 3-4 guys to the paint every time someone drives to the paint. So
I think that's been cool too. Like when watching, the Grizzlies stuff is like, again, it's tough because we don't know what goes on in practice. We don't know what, the Bucks principles are, and whether those things are not being executed, not being coached up well, or, whatever that problem may be, we don't know from the outside. But when you just go and watch, especially the years that, the Grizzlies were really rolling, especially defensively, like you could see like all 5 guys on the court are on a string, and like they're so dead set on their principles. And you can tell like these things are non-negotiables. They're hammered home. Guys who are, not on ball and, whatever opposites, weak side or whatever it may be, like those guys are still really engaged, and they're not ever over helping a ton, but while still being in really good position to help. Like it just felt like at all times, those guys had a really good balance, and like, we're just so like understood their principles to whatever level, right, that we just haven't seen here in Milwaukee recently. So I think that's going to be good. And I wonder, how much the personnel, again, should Jenkins be the guy or whatever it may be, like, I just wonder how much that factors into, the buy-in or whatever it may be too. So yeah, that it's all going to be interesting, especially if, Jenkins is hired. It's cool that, Jenkins is a candidate because then I get to go back and watch a lot of that film, but it's definitely been cool to go back and watch a lot of that stuff. Yeah, so that was it. That was all the questions I got.
Cool. Anything else before we get out of here?
That's it, man. That's it.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, follow myself at Nathan Marzion, Stev at Bucks_breakdown, the podcast BucksU_pod. Draft lottery in, I think it's 20 days, 19 days right now. So coming up. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, Bucks and 6.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.